EzraTime. Today we're gonna be talking about Place Part 2. Anyway, welcome to this channel. So I just recently watched A Quiet Place Part 2. I was hyped for the sequel, and I know that some people might be worried. Because A Quiet Place wasn't supposed to have like a sequel. I think John Krasinski even said himself that the first movie was supposed to be like a one-off thing. So there was supposed to be a sequel to the first one, but they did it anyway because the first one was so successful, obviously, and I love the first one. And I was kind of like 50-50 when I was this part two was announced because I there is like 50% of me that think that okay, you know what, I want to see part two because I love the world, I love the family, the Abbott family, right? So I want to see some continuation of that, but at the same time I was also worried about like I don't know how I feel about this because sometimes when you make a sequel to something so great, like especially some movie that's supposed to be a one-off, usually it wasn't that great, and it kind of ruined the experience, right? Sometimes you just like, oh my god, this movie was supposed to be a one-off, like it should stay as a one-off, right? But for A Quiet Place Part 2, which I just recently see on my theaters, I gotta say, this is a really worthy sequel. It's a great sequel, if I'm being really honest here. But and let me tell you why it's a great sequel. Like first of all, the movie start with you know, this is a non-spoiler review, but I think you guys already figured this out from the trailer, right? The movie begin with the prologue, right? The day one, obviously when the monster or the alien attack the city where the Abbott family live, right? And then you get to see obviously John Krasinski again in a flashback, obviously, because he's on day one. And I gotta say that opening scene, in day one was actually really great. Like I was on in the edge of my seat, and it's just like so fun to watch. And the sound design is just amazing, especially from the beginning, from the opening alone, like the sound design on the monster, like my god, it's so good. Like it's actually really scary and just like oh, like really nice in my ear, you could say that. Really great sound design, and before the movie eventually get cuts back to the ending for the first one, obviously, and that's where the basically the titles show up, Quiet Place Part 2, and then you get to see the story for the second part. And honestly, the second part is obviously expanding the world, right? And some people might be worrying that, oh, are they gonna expand the world too much and kind of ruin the entire premise of it? I gotta say, if I'm being honest here, I kind of wish they expand the world more because, yeah, sure, they expand some of it, but it's not really enough. It's like a scratch, because there is some element that they put into this movie, like there is some like bad humans, you could say that. But they just I don't know, they don't really explore them that much. Again, it's just a scratch. And then there's obviously some other location out there, right? And some other backstory as well about the monster. I guess the origin for the monster you guys already know from the first movie. Like even though they don't really explain it, but if you're actually really paying attention to the newspaper that Lee Abbott has, John Krasinski's characters from the first movie, you already know the origin for the monster. And in this one, you kind of see that for a glimpse in the opening scene. But yeah, there is some new stuff as well about the monster, like what is their other weaknesses besides the first one, right? You guys see that in the first one. There is some other weaknesses as well, but I'm not gonna tell you guys what it is, but well, they kind of explore that, which is kind of interesting, right? And it does kind of raise more question in some way, but in a good way. Like I want to know more about this world, and yeah, I think the Emily Blunt as Evelyn Abbott, I think that's the character's name, was again great. Like Michelle Simmons and then Noah Jupe, I think. Like all three of them are great, and then you got Killian Murphy, which is also a great addition to this movie. Because I think Killian Murphy was supposed to replace John Krasinski characters, Lee Abbott. Because obviously you know what happens to him in the first movie, right? And I'm gonna say Killian Murphy was great in this movie. I think his performance was like really just great. And her character was his character was, well, I think it was good, but I feel like they can expand more of his character in some way. But I don't know, that's just me. It's not exactly a criticism. I still really like his character, but I feel like they could do more with it in some way. And then you got other character as well, like Jimon Honsu. I think I probably mispronounced that, but Jimon, obviously probably see him on the many other movies previously. he was in this movie as well, but I will say his role is not that big, you know. Like Killian Murphy role is big because he was supposed to replace John Krasinski in some way, but like Jimin role is not really that big, sadly, and I kind of wish they expand more of his role. But you know, if already watched the movie, well, you know. Anyway, and one of the great things as well. Well, the sound design, like I mentioned before, right? Throughout this movie, it has a great sound design on the monster, obviously, and then it kind of cut back to like when Regan, Michelle Simmons' characters. I think it was Michelle Simmons, right? I'm not mispronouncing the actress name. Sorry. Just let me check for a second. But anyway, his there is this cut between like people can obviously the actress who play Regan is obviously deaf, right? And they kind of did the same thing with the first movie. They when they cut back to like a different audio, right? Sometimes you hear things, and then you cut to Regan's perspective. You can like she can't hear anything, obviously. And again, that's another great thing about this movie. And I think they kind of use that even more in this movie. And some people might say that it's not really. Maybe some people complain that they do that too much, but I don't know. I feel like it's done enough, and I still really like it, And oh, sorry, Millicent Simmons. Oh, sorry, I mispronounced it. Miss Simmons, who play Regan, was actually great, and she was actually the lead role for this movie. And some of you might think that, oh, Emily Blunt is gonna be like the main role, right, in this movie, but not really. I mean, she still have enough screen time, and then she's badass as always. But Regan Abbott is the one who actually took uh, the one who lead this movie. You could say that, and honestly, she's great. She's actually really great actress, and just really complements some of the scene for the movie. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all the great things. I think the soundtrack as well by Marco Beltrami. I think he also did the first movie, if I'm not mistaken. Again, the soundtrack in this movie was really great. Every single time a soundtrack play in this movie, it's just so touching. It's just so heartwarming, and then it's so intense, obviously, and you can feel the suspense of it. And yeah, so great job for Marco Beltrami for that. And yeah, I think what other else that I should talk about? Sound design done, actress done, right? Actor, music is done all great. And I guess I wish that I think this movie was written alone by John Krasinski, right? Oh yeah, direction, obviously, directing and writing. John Krasinski does a great job on both writing and directing for this movie, and it's just the script is great. It's really great, And some people might say that this movie might be not as quiet as the first one, but you can still feel the suspense of it. Like it's still effective. It's still terrifying. Especially if you watch this on theaters and then you get the big speakers and all that kind of stuff. Like my God, because the sound design in this movie was great, so you can definitely feel the suspense of it. And then the script just complement that even further. And John Krasinski directing was actually again another great point for John Krasinski, and I hope that um, we get to see a Quiet Place Part 3, because I feel like with this world that they're building, they're expanding it. It's not exactly super expanded. Like it's almost like okay, this is some expansion, but it's still a scratch. That's probably my criticism for this movie. Maybe not a criticism, but it's just like, man, this is good. I want more. That's my thoughts about it. Like they expand the world, but it's just at the same time it's just a scratch, and I feel like they can expand it more in part 3, and then maybe we can delve in deeper into the monster, or maybe the previous days, or like see the transition from the loud society to a quiet society, you could say that, right? Because you kind of see that in the opening of this movie, but it's just the opening, and then you're like, man, I kind of want to see that more, to see the transition between like a loud people to a quiet people, or a quiet society, you could say that. Because that would be interesting to see how that transition went. And just to see what happens to the outside world beside this small town. So I hope that we can get a Quiet Place Part 3. And I think Emily Blunt and John Krasinski already confirmed that there is a plan for, or wasn't a plan, but maybe there is an idea. Like John already has an idea for a third Quiet Place movie, so that's great. And hopefully we can get that. I don't know, pretty soon, I guess, because I like this movie so much. And there is also a spin-off coming, and I hope that the spin-off is focusing on, obviously it's going to be focusing on other characters, right? I think the original idea was by John Krasinski, so that's always great, right? So I think I hope the spin-off for the Quiet Place is gonna be focusing more on the military aspect of the world, or maybe someone else, and maybe something big in the future, right? Maybe some big city, and just to see this monster roaming around in the big city instead of like a small town. I kind of want to see that, to be honest. So they definitely could explore it in a spin-off. We don't even know what the spin-off is all about, right? So I guess we'll see that in the future. And then yeah, again, guys, that's my review for A Quiet Place Part Two. Again, great sequel. If I have to rate it, I probably gonna give this an 8.8. The first one I give it an 8.5 because again, it's a great movie. Even though the first one I don't really watch it on theaters, which is kind of sad because again, the sound design is amazing. So I can really experience that for the first movie. But I did watch it and I love it. I love it so much. And thankful for a part two, I can finally watch it on theaters. And it's just an amazing experience. And on my personal opinion, again, just in my opinion, guys, I like this. I like part two more than part one, even though part one is much more emotional in some way. But in this one, it doesn't feel emotional as the first one. But at the same time, I like it better because you can see the monster like a lot because there is a lot of like daylight in this movie, and then there is some nighttime as well, but like there is some daylight in this movie, and you can clearly see the monster. Like they're not hiding the monster anymore because the first one, there is, I mean, you can see them obviously, but it's always on nighttime, and then that's until the end of the movie where the monster get to the basement, and you can like, clearly see them obviously, and there is some daylight on them even though it's on the basement. But part two is just like there is the monster gets so many moments, so many scenes, whether it was like tension, suspense, or maybe action in some way, right? And it's just daylight, so it's just great to see them. They're designed even better now. And again, the sound design on them was really better, so that's why I like this. I like part two more than part one. Because there is just the expansions actually really work really well, and that's why I kind of hope that they explore that even further. But maybe in part three, like who knows, right? Um, yeah, I guess that's my review for A Quiet Place Part Two. Again, great sequel and 8.8. And Did you guys already watch A Quiet Place Part Two? If you guys already did watch it, then you guys can leave me your opinion in the comment section below because I really love this sequel and I can't wait to see Part Three. Hopefully, sometime in the future. And if you guys didn't watch A Quiet Place Part Two, then I highly recommend you guys to go to your nearest theaters that opens, right? And just go watch A Quiet Place Part Two. It's actually a really great sequel. Some people might didn't like this part two more than part one, but they still agree that it's a good movie. At least in Indonesian, like a lot of Indonesian YouTuber actually like this movie. Like who does a movie review, they all pretty much love this movie. So I'm really glad that my own people actually like this movie. So I'm really curious to see what you guys think about this movie. If you guys already watch it, feel free to share your opinions in the comment section below. If you haven't watched it, again, like I said before, I highly recommend you guys watch it on your nearest theaters. If your theaters was open, then if it didn't open, then well, I guess be patient until it was open sometimes in the future, right? And yeah, again, great job by John Krasinski, and Emily Blunt, and then the rest of the cast. And I really really enjoy this movie, guys. And yeah, I hope you guys actually find some benefit for listening to my like nearly 13 or 14 minutes review here. I hope that I can bring my points out to you clearly about why this movie is great, and I hope I can encourage some of you to watch the movie because or support the movie because it's a great movie, a great sequel. And yeah, that's my movie review, guys. And again, thank you for watching my review. And if you guys enjoyed it, please leave a like, comment, and again, subscribe to my channel. Share this video out there. It really helps my channel, guys. And yeah, I think that's it for my today's review for A Quiet Place Part 2. I really enjoy it. Great sequel. And yeah, and again, guys, once again, my name is EzraTime, and thank you for listening to my A Quiet Place Part 2 movie review. Bye.